I'm Cash, and welcome back to Cash Talks Football. We're doing a bit of a Cash rant today about US youth soccer, which I'm going to make a statement, and as we go, I want you to think about what I'm going to say, and your answer to it, and then you're going to figure out why your answer is wrong, and why most people are wrong about what they think. The US youth system is the best in the world up until under 16. Have a little think about what your answer is, and if your answer is, yeah, but Cash, there's no under 16s playing in the Premier League, yeah, I know. That's not their goal. So your expectations of what a youth system is and theirs are completely and utterly different. So I'm going to break down this YouTuber here of his little, rant of US youth football and point out to you, not only did every single thing he says in this video is a lie or is misleading, one or the other, and I'm going to show you all the misleading evidence, and his statements are very important because they're absolute nonsense. I think there's only one true fact he says in this, that Jude Bellingham played for Birmingham City. Birmingham City, not Birmingham United. Birmingham City, right? That's the only fact in this whole thing that this guy is going to say is actually true. And I'm going to point out, not only that, the goals in the youth system in America, they're achieved. That's why it's the best. America isn't trying to win a World Cup. Otherwise, they wouldn't have an MLS system, of a franchise system of football that have a competitive football league. So if they're telling you, oh yeah, we're going to win the World Cup, it's just marketing nonsense. Because we all know in the real world, if you wanted to win a World Cup, you'd have a competitive football league. You can't have a competitive football league with no promotion and relegation. So we all know it's nonsense. Anyone with a brain between, up here would go, oh yeah, they're just chatting. So let's just play and see. I'm going to pause it a lot because this guy talks a lot of nonsense.
I just spent 4 years coaching youth club soccer here in the United States.
4 years, and he didn't learn the first basic thing. Now, I'm telling you now, I cut my teeth in coaching US football back in the early 2000s for a long time. And I very rarely ever met a single parent that thought their kid was going to be professional after about a year. Because that isn't their goal. Their goal isn't to be a professional footballer. Because they know, first off, if you don't know that the visa requirements required from getting from the United States over to Europe, by the way, I've had professional players do this, so I know exactly what they need to do and how they do it. One of our kiddies went over to Empoli, and the only way he could get there was using a different type of back on his lineage from Haiti, and not using the US passport, because he couldn't do it. Because you need, and by the way, another player who did make the under-18s men's national team, was the captain of the men's under-18 national men's team, and went on to play for the men's US national team. He could do it because he fit the visa requirements of hitting a certain amount of international caps for his age group and all that sort of nonsense. But he didn't even go over and play in Europe, because even he didn't really want to be a professional footballer until he was about 16, 17 years old. So you've got to bear in mind, the US youth system isn't geared up to make professional football players, which he didn't understand in 4 years of working in it. But let's just keep going.
States. And what I learned during my tenure as a coach is also what led me to quit.
Why he quit, I tell you right now, before we get into it, it's because he's a bad football coach. That's why he quit. I guarantee you, when we get through the crux of this, that guy is just a bad football coach, and you're going to see more of it as we get through what bad football youth bad football coaches are about. The hand-holding that these children that are coaching children need is unbelievable.
The US youth system is broken.
Oh, it's broken. Okay, well, tell us why it's broken, or not. Let's make hyperbolic statements, because it's not broken. It achieves its goals, getting people college scholarships. That's what the youth system's there to do. They don't want to be professional players. They want their kids to be doctors, lawyers, attorneys, dentists. That's why they spend money. That's what they push their players to do. And guess what it does? That exact goal. When you think youth football is done to make professional football players, not in their mind. That's not what they're looking at doing. If they're looking at a full ride on, when they're looking anywhere from $60,000 to $300,000 a year, college fees can be paid for. If they pay $35,000 to $40,000 over a 4-year period, it's a good investment. They'd rather do that.
And it's not just expensive; it's poorly structured.
Oh, so how is it poorly structured? We're not going to know, because he's not going to tell us, because it's not poorly structured. What it is, he's not in what's called a big club. So because he's not in a big club, so now it's changed over the years. So it used to be split. The United States used to be split up into regions: Region 1, 2, and 3, region play. Okay, so it was a democratic thing. If you won your league in your state, you could get into the region from the region play, and up you go. He's not in or understands any part of the structure. Now it's moved to what's called the National Academy, and you've got the ECNL and all sorts of nonsense. They change it all the time, but basically it's the same dog with a different bite. That's all it is. And the 36 largest clubs, youth clubs in the United States, came together and said, well, we're the best clubs. We always play each other in the same league anyway. Why don't we just have our own league and have all the college scouts come to us anyway? Because that's what we do anyway. So he's not a part of that structure. So what he's saying, it's not fair because we're not a part of that structure. And then he can't figure out the secondary structure for those other clubs that aren't part of the ECNL or the National Academy or any of that. So that's why he's saying it's poorly structured. It's not fair because my team is bad and I'm a bad coach and I don't get to play with all the good teams because, that's what he's actually saying.
Backwards in its priorities.
Backwards in its priorities. It puts the future of its kids not in a game that they're not going to be professional in because they could get a knee injury, a toe injury, or anything to do with that. Backward in your priorities because in your delusion, you think that America's going to win the World Cup with a league system that is geared up not to win the World Cup. This is why stupid people shouldn't talk.
And benefits all of the wrong people.
What people? You don't. Okay, so you've made loads of statements there. You haven't said how it's broken. You haven't said who it's benefiting. You haven't said anything. You're just making arbitrary statements to be hyperbolic on YouTube. What a total and utter clown. Oh, by the way, Top Soccer, great little program for the handicapped kids. Yeah, you want to find out what football's about? Go and coach some Top Soccer. That's what it's about.
Today, we're going to break down exactly why U.S. youth soccer is terrible.
No, why you think it's terrible, not why it's terrible. Just because UFU soccer doesn't compete with the Premier League in a country that doesn't have promotion and relegation and doesn't understand what it's like. What? It's not the way that I want it to be because all these darn kids don't want to be professional footballers. They want to have an education and their parents want them to get college scholarships and stay inside of that system in their country. They need to change their system to play like the other countries that they're not living in and play like all of those countries that they don't live in. What are you talking about, you utter clown?
How it compares to the rest of the world.
The rest of the world? Okay, I guarantee you when we're talking about the rest of the world, what he's going to say is Europe. He's not going to talk about South America. He's not going to talk about Mexico. He's not going to talk about Brazil, Argentina, Australia, China. From like, oh my God, the youth system in China is a complete chaos. Not going to talk about any of that. None of it. Not a single thing. He's going to make the rest of the world have a wobble.
What needs to change to grow the...
What needs to change is the professional league, because if there's no outlet for the youth to go to other than college, well, they're not going to go anywhere else other than to college, are they? Whoa! And you were there for 4 years and you couldn't figure that out.
Beautiful game here in the United States. Subscribe to Nitro Football and...
Subscribe to Nitro Football if you'd like to be told a load of nonsense.
Let's hop into it. We can, of course, start with the elephant in the room. Playing youth soccer in America is ridiculously expensive.
First, complete and utter lie. You can go to the YMCA and sign up for a season. It'll cost you $150, about $175, maybe $210 nowadays. And that'll cover your uniform costs. You'll get put on a team, boys and girls teams, all different types. What he's talking about is the difference because there's different levels. There's recreational football, travel football. You can call it select, Premier Select, loads of different things. You've got your super leagues, summer Y leagues. There's thousands of leagues. But what he's doing is taking a little part about travel football. Is travel football expensive? Well, yeah, because your team should be good enough to travel. And he's playing in a club, I guarantee you, with kids that aren't good enough to travel, to go to tournaments that shouldn't be going to them because they're not good enough. So they're paying exorbitant money, and guess where all that money goes to? Him. He's the coach. He won't say that in all this video. The reason why it's expensive is because the majority of the money goes to the coach. He could have just coached for free. Could have done that, couldn't he?
It's a fact that everybody knows, but not everybody knows why. It's
we do. We just told you. We know why. Because all the money goes to the coach. Because if you want to hire me as a coach, I'm expensive. Why? Because I'm really, really bloody good. And there's a massive chance that your kid's going to get a college scholarship. And some of my other coaching buddies, you just hire him because they know every single person in college. You just hire him. Yeah, he's on the team. Yeah, why is he the coach? Well, because he's been coaching and putting people in college for 25 years. So he knows all of them. And when he says they're a good player, because his reputation is on the line, they automatically take them. So that's why they get paid a lot of money. And that's why the parents pay a lot of money. But you don't even mention that, do you? Because, woo, that would ruin your nonsense argument of total nonsense.
It's really expensive. These clubs will charge between $2,000.
Okay, so let's break this down for the clown shoes. Right, about 2,000, 10,000 a year. Now, if you're on my team, it's probably more than that. So remember, over here at the YMCA, can we spell that, Cash? C, yeah, we got it right. You can pay about 200, no, that's rubbish, about 200. And if you're going somewhere else on a travel, you're paying about 2,000, right? That's a great 2,000 there. Now, he doesn't even give you the distinguish between, there's rec football, okay? Rec football, that's this cheap side over here. This is travel football or select football or whatever we want. So let's put the two distinctions down. Rec football, which you don't have in Europe, recreational football for fun, you don't have that in Europe because the European youth system is completely and utterly broken at the grassroots level. It's for kids that just want to have fun, play, and that structure is done in a couple of ways. So on the recreational side, if you're like a large YMCA with about 7,000 or 8,000 kids signed up to soccer, you're playing in-house in your own league on your own fields. However, if you're a small club with only maybe 2 or 3 rec teams, you'll get the state involved, or there'll be a governing body, and they'll run scheduling to play other recreational teams. They're not very good, and they'll be put in divisions, and sometimes they'll have promotion and relegation. A lot of the times in bigger states, it's just done on a region, because there isn't enough teams to have a promotion and relegation in that age group, so they'll do it by region, and one team will run away with it because they're not really rec. They should be a travel team. Travel teams are done completely different. All states are run completely different as well, by the way. Doesn't mention any of this. Some states have a structured proper league. Other states don't. Some of that's fallen along the wayside because the states have done poor jobs over that, facilitating that over the years because you pay state registration fees. There's also a difference between US youth soccer and US club soccer. So one is run by a governing body that runs the national team. The other one's more of a sort of free-for-all. A lot of, say, like from Boston or the top right of America would be US youth club soccer, where it opens up your roster to do different things. Where if you're in one system, your roster's kind of fixed for the year, no one can come on, no one can come off. Where the other system is, yeah, you can float, add players, change players as you will. As long as they've got a player card and they're registered and the right time at the right place, you're all okay. So there's a million different caveats of what's going on there. So if you don't want to travel much, you can pay 200 quid and play your local things. If you want to travel more, there's a gap between, by the way, there's teams in between each one of these, levels in between all of these, where you can find a happy home if you don't want to spend a fortune. So if you just want to play for fun, you can. Can't do that in Europe. Doesn't exist. But let's move it on.
$1,000 to $5,000 per player per year. A lot of times it can get more expensive than that, and it's not even including extra expenses like buying your kit.
Ooh, you got to pay for a uniform. You have to do that everywhere.
To wear to trainings and games, that's a mandatory extra expense. It's not going to pay for travel or even hotel.
Again, doesn't say why you're traveling. Only travel teams pay for travel expenses. Recreational teams don't pay for travel expenses because they don't go. And guess what? Even the recreational teams will get together. They'll form 4 kids with one parent, and they'll go off to a tournament away in the sun or down by the beach for the end of the season because it's fun. Yeah, kids going away having fun at soccer tournaments. Who would have thought it?
For away days or showcases or tournaments that you're going to have to stay in. It's not going to pay for the extra private training.
Private training? I hated it when Messi was playing on the streets in Argentina, where, that kid who doesn't really want to play football now needs private training. What? You give him private training because the kid doesn't want to play football on his own because he doesn't really want to play at the professional level. I've never ever heard of Wayne Rooney and out in Liverpool, in the streets of Liverpool, needing private training. What are you talking about? That there is the red flag that says these players aren't going to make it professionally no matter where they are because they're going to be forced to do private lessons. Right.
For touches that you might need on off days. No. And so all of this adds up to thousands and thousands every single year just for one player. Whereas in Europe, the clubs invest in the player.
Really? Is that what happens, is it? In Europe, the clubs, because I'll tell you right now, all my local youth clubs around the area, they don't pay these exorbitant money because they just won't. It's England. Everyone's broke and they just think it's absolutely stupid. And not only that, the English players, the youth system is so bad here that the coaches don't know what they're doing to make good youth players. My favourite thing of pointing out how bad academies are in England is this: is you go, so how many players did you graduate from your academy onto your first team? Well, none. So you failed 100% last year. You had 100% failure rate in your academy. Yeah, because remember, their goal is to make professional players, where the goal in America is to get people college scholarships. It's two different goals, two different things. So if you can find a club in Europe where give them 3 years, puts a player from their academy onto their first team, you can go, oh, that's good. There isn't. Go and find, like they're talking about Phil Foden, who came out, 7 years ago from their academy? One player. So they didn't fail 100% of the time, only 99% of the time. Yeah, utter rubbish.
Not the other way around. In the USA, players that come from more poor backgrounds are not even...
More poor backgrounds? Let me just explain to you again. I've worked there. You're talking nonsense. We had a club called Alianza near us. It was a bunch of just basically Mexican kids. Everybody in the state looked after them. And when they were talented, everyone got them into tournaments because they were the best. Because one thing about America, other than England, is winners in America are rewarded. So you know what? Everyone tries to help them. Speaking about poor countries, did you talk about Brazil? Where some of the best footballers in the world come from? Well, they don't pay any money. Why are they good then? Oh, because they play football for football's sake. Where these kids are playing football for college scholarship sake. Different reasons, different goals, different objectives. He doesn't mention anywhere in the world except for Europe. You remember, like you said earlier on, everywhere in the world. Well, did you mention Argentina? What about Venezuela? What about Chile? You didn't mention any of those. They don't pay hundreds of thousands of pounds for their... How are they making it in the Premier League?
Given a fair chance. You could lose the next Lionel Messi at 9 years.
Really? You're going to lose Lionel Messi at 9 years old? That isn't ever going to happen. I'm telling you now. Because there's one thing America does. They like to win. And if that kid is 8 years old, I know families that have just basically paid for some other kid, because he's better than their son, paid for his entire soccer future because he's better. Happens. And yeah, they're hoping that their son gets to play on the same team. And yeah, there is a little bit of, oh, I'm paying for him, so my son's got to come on the team as well. Yeah, there's some of that too. But this is utter nonsense. America's going to lose Lionel Messi. Well, I'll tell you who did. Argentina did, because Spain went in and, Barcelona went in and took him out of the country because he was so good at 8 years old. If you're telling me there's a good player, quality is Lionel Messi at 8 years old, he's not going to get spotted and looked after. You are talking more utter nonsense.
Old because he couldn't afford a tournament in North Carolina, so his family said it's not sustainable.
That's never going to happen. That's never, ever going to happen. Oh, with the best player who can't afford to go on the tournament, looks like our team's going to lose the tournament because little Billy can't afford the £35 it costs, because remember, that'll be structured between the team, to pay for the tournament. Oh, no, can none of the parents have a whip round? No, we can't. Can we do a car wash fundraiser, which we always used to do? Like, no, we can't do that. We're just going to make sure little Lionel Messi can't play football at this tournament. You're talking nonsense.
We can't keep paying for this every single...
Oh, there's also another part of that. I'd say, but not just... no, all clubs, youth clubs in America, have scholarships that when they're making their money. And by the way, most of the clubs in America don't make their money on travel, because all that money does go into the coach. They make it on the recreational side, because it's a different thing. So they have scholarships. There's always kids on scholarships. Most teams have a player that's on scholarship that's getting paid for, playing for free. That happens everywhere. You know that, and you're not saying that. This is why you're such a liar.
Even for non-profit clubs, one that I coached.
Oh, even for non-profit clubs. Again, he doesn't know. It's called a 4013C, and basically most soccer clubs in America run on a for non-profit because they're tax exempt. Trying to say this non-profit thing is another just misleading directional thing to make it seem like, oh, I was working for a club that didn't make any money, because all the money went to you as the football coach. Yeah, that's why. But also, they don't want to make money, because then that'll get put tax and a whole different set of things. If they can be full non-profit, boom, away they go. And then they can apply for government subsidies, all these other little different things, and then they give that back to the players on those scholarships I was talking about a moment ago.
For several years, you still need to charge about $1,500 per season just to cover
No, you don't. No, don't know what world you're living in. No, you don't. Your club did, because it was probably poorly run, and your director of coaching was probably taking over 140 grand a year. That's why it was charging that amount of money.
expenses. You're going to have to pay for coaches.
Oh, we have to pay for coaches. That's where the money goes.
Field rentals.
Well, why are you renting a field? Why? Most football clubs I know, they either own the fields outright, okay? They're either given to them by the Parks and Recreational Department, so they're not renting the fields. I mean, everything you're saying is you're in a poorly structured club by people that are robbing your parents, and you aren't smart enough to understand it.
You have to pay for referees.
Oh, you do have to pay for refs. I'm sorry, maybe he did say one other thing in this whole video that's correct. Yeah, you do have to pay for refs.
League registrations, tournament registration.
Yeah, you do have to pay for that. Okay, yeah, well, we'll give you that. That's true.
League fees. All of the above aren't free, and nobody...
Yeah, but you don't mention the costs, because the registration for the league is about $12 for the whole year for a player. It's funny you don't mention that. And depending on which one, sometimes it's $18. Oh, it might be $22 for the whole year for your player pass, maybe.
Nobody else is going to pay for this free soccer. So how does it actually happen in Europe?
Oh, this is going to be brilliant, because every single country in Europe is different, and I guarantee you he doesn't have a clue. Let's hear his nonsense on how does it work in Europe in my make-believe head.
But not in the USA. European clubs are far more incentivized to invest.
Are they? Because they don't.
In their youth systems than here in the USA. Take Birmingham City.
Oh, here we go. Birmingham City. He's going to get it right with Jude Bellingham, but then he's going to get it awfully wrong. You have to listen to this nonsense.
For example, if they were to get promoted into the Premier League, the TV rights, the deals, the revenue...
So let me get this right. He's saying if Birmingham City managed to make it to the Holy Land, how do you think they got there, you utter clown? I mean, most clubs come from spending so much money on the promise to get there. They're in debt before they get there. Like, your understanding of football is like a 4-year-old's. Oh, if they get promoted to the Premier League, what? They didn't spend any money to get there then? No, they just did it by wishes and happy broomsticks. Like, what are you talking about?
That they get for just playing in the Premier League is going to change that club's...
Not really.
Significantly. They're going to be able to bring in better players, and they're going to have the money to do so.
That doesn't really happen, does it? Like, the owners give the money when they get up to the Premier League, not because they get paid from the Premier League. First off, they don't get paid from the Premier League until the year after they've been in the Premier League. So when you're saying that, again, you have to have the money up front to buy the players. You don't just come into the Premier League and go, here's money. That's not how it works. First off, the Premier League is a corporation. It's not a league. It's completely different. So the corporation pays out at the end of the year of its dividends of what it's been doing. It doesn't pay you up at the beginning of the year. Like, we're a corporation. We've made no money, but we're going to pay our shareholders a whole bunch of money. What? No, don't you do that at the end of the year? Oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot. But this guy on YouTube says that they do it when they come up from the championship.
So as well, if they were to get relegated, lots of players would leave. They'd go to other clubs playing at...
Well, they wouldn't leave. Lots of players don't leave. Lots of players leave because... they're getting paid too much money on their wage bill, and the only way that they can leave is if the club lets them leave, because there's a thing called a contract.
Higher levels, and they would...
But when I was on Football Manager, my players put in a transfer request. Yeah.
Have nearly as much revenue to bring in other players. In both of those scenarios, having homegrown players...
Having homegrown players? Go through the Premier League today and see how many of their players came from the academy. Just do it for fun. Just for fun. Yeah, you can see how much nonsense that this clown is talking. Just go through them. You know, I think, what was it? Poor old Man United Kobe Manu. Was he the last player that came through? Yeah, rubbish.
Is important. Take Jude Bellingham, for example.
Yeah, how's Jude Bellingham doing? Is he still there? But no, he's at Real Madrid. But let's listen to this utter nonsense about what the money goes from.
This is a player that they did not need to buy for several $1 million from another club. Instead, they invested in him for 9 years.
They invested him in for 9 years. Oh, okay, all right, okay, we'll go with that.
At the youth level, brought him up to the top team at 16 years old, and then at 17 years old, he was playing good minutes for their top team. They didn't have to.
Why? Because he has a league structure that you don't have in the US that affords him to do that. You can't bring somebody in under 17s in the MLS. It doesn't work like that. So you're talking about two different structures. The fact you're comparing English Premier League and the English youth system to the American youth system shows a whole level of stupidity that I didn't think I could ever hear before. It's like, we're going to put them into a system over here in the MLS that doesn't exist, but we're going to blame the youth system for the adult system not having the system. Yeah, but the adult system doesn't have a place for us to go and play. Yeah, but it's your fault. But why is it my fault that there's not a place for me to play in the adult system? Well, no, it's definitely the youth system's problem. Yeah, but we can't go anywhere. Yeah, but no, it's your fault.
By a center mid from elsewhere. Then at 18 years old, they sold him.
Oh, this is absolute clown shoes at the best.
For 30 million euros to Borussia.
30 million euros? Wow! That won't even cover their wage bill probably for 2 years.
Dortmund. That 30 million euros is going to pay for that academy?
No, it's not. Absolutely no money is going to go into that youth academy whatsoever from that 30 million. This is one of the most childlike takes I've ever heard of understanding how football works. Oh.
For years on end. And
is it? No, it's not.
And other players are going to get the opportunity.
No, they're not. They only get the opportunity because they're good at football. That's it. That's the only reason.
To play, develop, and not have to spend any money.
They still spend money.
During that time. Now, there are some examples of this happening in the USA, like Cavan Sullivan, the 15-year-old wonder kid from Philadelphia Union, getting transferred to Manchester City for...
Yeah, but there's lots of caveats there that you're not mentioning, are you? How did he beat the visa requirement rule? Oh, you don't know about that because you never coached any decent players or any sort of level that would ever have to deal with anything like that. And that's the reason why players from the United States don't get to come over to Europe, because there's a whole set of nonsense that they have to adhere to. And if they can get around that, yeah, they might be able to. But that's the biggest reason why no youth players come from America to Europe.
$5 million. Now that's no chump change, especially for a 15-year-old transfer, but is that getting redistributed into the academy system like it would with...
It doesn't in the UK. You're making up straight lies to make yourself feel better about how stupid you are.
Birmingham City and Jude Bellingham? No, because...
I really would love a chat with this moron. Like, what is your evidence that a 30 million transfer fee from Jude Bellingham is going back into the academy? Oh my God. It's just like, I can say anything because no one's going to question me and point out all of my stupidity.
The franchise owners of MLS teams know that their team has no chance.
Right. So they know that they're not going to get relegated. The MLS teams know that this isn't going to happen, but it's the US youth system's fault. Right.
Of getting relegated. 99% of other youth clubs in the area don't have a possible way to get into the MLS.
Oh, so they can't get into the MLS, but it's the youth team's problem. Oh.
MLS. The only way is to buy your way in a franchise that costs like $500 million.
Right, so it's not a real football league then. Is that what you're telling me? Oh, okay.
It's not possible. So these clubs who have developed players from 5 years old up to 17 years old.
So these players in a completely different youth system in a completely different country running in a completely different adult system is completely different than the United States. Well done, clown shoes.
They get their players poached by MLS teams, and then they sell them on to other teams or use them in their first team, when in reality it was the other local youth team that had developed them.
By the way, that's not what happens in America anyway. They don't get through your local youth teams. You're chatting utter nonsense. Utter nonsense. Most of these youth teams will put players into college and they'll pick anyone up from between 18 and 22 in that sort of range, unless they're an absolute worldly player. And they don't really care about the local youth teams in their area. Again, your lack of understanding of US youth football is amazing. Everyone goes to 2 tournaments in the United States. Okay, that's it. By the way, it may have changed, but this was it back in the day. As soon as I tell it to you, you're going to understand it. It's Disney and Vegas. Do you know why? Because as a college recruitment coach or an LMS coach, a Major League Soccer coach, you get to go to 2 tournaments. to watch the youth football. And you go to Disney, because it's Disney and you get to take your kids. So it's free. We get to Disney. Second one was it's Vegas, and we get to go to Vegas for free. That's it. They don't look around their local parks and rec caring about what's going on. I mean, God, all the year, there aren't any scouts walking around in America going, oh, these players are good.
And they got nothing for it. They had
oh no, my club didn't get anything for whatever happened. By the way, this is another thing. You can tell he worked for a bad football club that shouldn't have been a travel football team, because what's happened is, I tell you now what's happened with him. He was at a team and someone stole his good players. That's what he's saying. I had my best players stolen and it wasn't fair, and that where they came from had no recourse. It's because you didn't sign them on any sort of contract. Oh, because you can't, because it's not a proper youth system. It's not really a proper league. Ugh.
no transfer fee. They got paid nothing for it.
Oh, so when you lost your good kids because they went to a better coach on a better team inside of your area, you couldn't handle it. Oh, okay.
Absolutely no incentive for these clubs to let those players go elsewhere. In fact, they're more incentivized to try to keep them around, even if they're ready to become a professional.
How are they ready to become a professional? Where? What are you talking about? Well, we already know they can't do it in America. We already know they can't go over to Europe and do it unless there's specific passports and visa requirements that they match. So where are they going to become a professional? What are you talking about, clown?
They might as well try to keep them around for another year or two, get a few $1,000.
The only reason those parents are playing money, is because they're in to the dream that they're going to get a college scholarship. They're going to get something out of it. They're not paying thousands of dollars without trying something coming from it. They're not wasting their money.
Out of them, and they'll continue to win more games. It looks better for the club, but is it actually better for the player who it's
better for the player? You have no idea what's better for the player. You're a clown.
Supposed to be all about. Understanding that in Europe, clubs rise and fall based on performance, whereas in the USA, youth clubs rise and fall based on how many parents they can convince to enroll their kid.
No, they don't rise and fall on that at all. Top Hat started in the 1980s by Cy Strickland, that was a World War I fighter pilot. That's why it's called Top Hat, okay? Women's club. It's been going since the 1980s. It's still there. You don't know what you're talking about. In your local area, what's happened is you have bad coaches lying to people, and because those lies get found out, your club disappears. If you're honest and truthful and you're putting on a right image and you're going forward, you keep creating stuff for 30 to 40 to 50 years. But you wouldn't know that because you're only coached for 4 years.
In their club, you get why the cost is what it is, but that is only a symptom. The experience itself is...
And this is where we find out he's an absolutely terrible football coach.
Is terrible. This is the point in the video where you're going to see a shift in my demeanor.
Because you're a terrible football coach? Because I'm about to point it out. I'm about to point out you're a complete and utter moron. You were working for a bad football club and you had a bad boss.
As somebody who has experienced this for the last 4 years, it gets my blood boiling, and it might take you by...
Your blood boiling? You're a moron. When I get through with this, oh God, this is the same problem that bad coaches all over the world blame. They blame parents and they blame referees. Let's go through it.
Surprise, but let's talk about tournaments and showcases.
Oh, tournaments and showcases. Tournaments and showcases are fantastic, by the way, because remember the goal of the youth system is to get a college scholarship. So where do you need to take them? Showcases and tournaments. Why? Because once someone's coming to watch, they're coming to watch 150 teams all in one day, one weekend, and they're all in one location. That's what they're there for. The goal of a tournament and a showcase is to be in the window to get your goal, which is a college scholarship. If you don't know that, which you don't, you haven't got a bloody clue.
That these are the most important weeks.
They are. I just pointed out to you that they are the most important weekends. Look, did you not know that's what they were there for? Did no one tell you because you had a bad coach? Sorry, bad director of coaching? Did no one point out to you if you're not at the right showcases, you don't get to see the right college scouts and the right college coaches, and then all that work that you've done is a waste of time? Oh, you thought someone from Manchester United was going to be at your college showcase in a... Yeah, no, mate.
Weekends of your season, that these are what determine the rankings and...
Yeah. Because all the best players and all the best teams go to the tournament. So if you're sitting around playing Podunk United in your little rubbish little state, playing bad teams, you don't know how good you are against Texas and California. So when you're trying to get a college scholarship and you're trying to put yourself up against the best kids in the country, you have to go and play the best kids in the country.
How good of a player or team you have is blasphemy.
Oh, it's not fair because I didn't have a good team. And when I went to a showcase and got battered, my parents found out that we didn't have a good team and my good kids left me as a coach. Blasphemy. How dare we have rankings and point out that these kids are better than those kids. We should all just sing Kumbaya and give everyone college scholarships. Clown.
It is so backwards.
So why?
What are 13-year-olds?
By the way, if my under-13s were only travelling from Cleveland to Cincinnati, they're on a bad football team. They would do that on a normal Saturday. Do you know why? Because everybody in the area that was close to them, they would beat 5 or 7-0. If you're travelling to that tournament and you're not beating everybody in your area by a massive scoreline, you shouldn't be travelling to the tournament. The fact you don't know why you're travelling to that tournament and you've been bullied into it because you don't know what you're doing as a coach and you don't understand what you're trying to do, and your team probably shouldn't have been a travel team. It should have been a recreational team playing locally for fun. That's the bigger problem. But let's move it on.
Traveling 300 miles.
But like 300 miles, that's nothing.
To play 3 to 4 games in the span of 36 hours, sometimes in like 95-degree heat, going to determine for you.
A lot. An awful lot. I can get more done in one tournament than I can in 4 weeks of playing. An awful lot. And by the way, it's also not being totally honest there, because they're not full games. They're like 25-minute to 35-minute halves, depending on which age group you're in. And some tournaments get annoying because at under 13s, it's like 30 minutes. And then some people knock it down to 25 to fit in stuff. You can get an awful lot done in that time. Okay, what does it determine for you? You've got a full weekend with your team. That means you can discipline, organise and structure your team for about 48 hours of how they conduct themselves on the field, off the field, how they walk around, how they interact with everybody, and you set a standard. You don't understand that. You don't. When you take your under-10s halfway across the country and they all walk in a single file line with all their bags done up, with all their... It's teaching structure and discipline, and this means something. When you start teaching kids this means something and it's important, it starts being important and they start trying harder. If it's just a wishy-washy, who cares? And also, guess what happens when you've done 10 of them? The excitement of being in a hotel goes, all of the, all that stuff goes, and they're there to play football. So when they're older and they need to go to these proper showcases where it does matter, they're not bothered. They're not stressed out. They couldn't care less because they've been doing it since they're under 13s. They've travelled, been to these tournaments. It's no big deal. They're performing in front of people 100 times. It does not matter. Show up at under 16 for your first college showcase, never playing a tournament, and watch your kids choke. Clown.
It is not a good way to develop play.
How do you know? Like, what do you... First off, you know they're not going to go professional because you've got no pathway to it. How do you know? Because I'll tell you right now, some of the best player development I've ever done is over a tournament weekend, because I can work on one game straight away, I've got another game, and basically in those 2 games, it's the same time as playing one normal game normally.
This is stupid.
It's stupid to you because you don't understand it.
It is players that are not going to give 100% in the...
By the way, if your players are not giving 100% in the first game, that's on you as a coach. Every single one of my players would give 100%. And that's why you have a thing called substitutions in game management, where you only let them really play half of the game. And then they play half of the next game, and that's one full game that they play. Oh, my goodness. That's not difficult, is it? But it is for you because you're stupid.
The first game or the second game because they know, I got another game at 4 p.m. and I know that team.
Yeah, and if they act like that mindset, that means they're never going to be a proper football player. So what you're talking about player development is right there. If your player has that mindset that they're not giving their all because they're looking for future instead of what they're on, it's not going to be a professional footballer, are they? And the fact you haven't told them that shows again how much of a poor coach you are.
It's going to be pretty good, so I can't give 100% now, but then by the time they get to the third game, they're so exhausted.
By the way, that's not how it works. Again, you're not being honest with the schedule. This is what happens. So when you by the third game is always the easiest game. So you're seeded number 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the bracket. Number 1 will always play number 4 on that Sunday, and number 2 will play number 3, probably. Yeah. So basically, the number 1, 2, and 3 teams will all play each other on the Saturday, and there'll be the easy game on the Sunday. That's generally what happens. And here's the other part as well. The Sunday game is normally a throwaway game, because this is what will happen. You've got 2 games on Saturday. If you win both, chances are you're in the final. If you lose one of those games, chances are you're not in the final. So if you've lost a game on Saturday, you know that you're already in the final or not Sunday morning. So if you're not in the final, you don't care. You're just there playing and having fun and getting ready to go home. If you're in the final, you're ready to play. So try to talk about this third game. It's always a kind of a throwaway game. Like, you're always exhausted. No, because there's actually 4 games every weekend. And the fact you're not saying that there's 4 games means every time you took a team to a tournament, you were preparing for the final because you never got there. You're always preparing for the final.
Cramping, a lot of times.
But the cramping? 13-year-old kids cramping? Like, how underhydrated and underprepared are your kids?
Hurt by the time they get to the 3rd or 4th game, and it really doesn't come down to what is the better team at that.
Yes, it does. It always comes down to what is the better team. Unless, of course, you're a weak team playing against other weak opposition. The better teams genuinely win all of the time.
At that point, it comes down to which team has the deeper bench of play.
Never. That's not a thing. Like, yeah. This is classic bad coach who's on a team who's got 3 good players, stepped outside of the pond that he's working in, found out that he can't compete at the national level of coaching, found out that there's a whole nother world out there and it's not fair and they don't play by the rules that he wants them to. That's what this sounds like to me.
Players that still have gas left in the tank. It's not about who's the better team.
Yeah, it is about who's the better team, because that's what the scoreline shows you. Did you not know that? Did no one tell you that the scoreline tells you who the better team is? Oh, you want hugs and little flowers at the end of the game and not a scoreline.
But the parents already spent thousands of dollars to play for this team, and now they have to spend money on travel. And you know what that club that's hosting the tournament's going to do? They're going to add a stay-to-play scam where...
By the way, this is, again, absolute and utter nonsense. There are a lot of people that do this, by the way. There are a lot of, when you go to a tournament and you do a tournament booking, you've got to book the hotel through them. And it's not a scam. It is and it isn't. So they get a cheaper rate, but there's something on here that he's not being honest about, again, because he's a liar. The reason they do this and they go through is because the coach's room, when they book through these people, are for free. That's what they do. So when you multi-book and you do that block, the coach's room gets paid for free. So the parents don't have to pay for the coach's room. He doesn't mention that, does he? Because he's the coach. Yeah, his room's free. Every time he goes away to a tournament, his room's free. That's why they use these multi-blocking booking systems. And the other reason they do it is because it's so much easier. If you're the hotel, right, and you've got 16 people booking and that team doesn't make the tournament, there's 16 different cancellations they've got to do and 16 different refunds. If it's one booking through a company, they can just take that block of 16 rooms, put them back onto the market and have it open and easy again. Because otherwise, if you're in a hotel with 3,000 rooms and everyone's doing it individually, or 2,000 are booked by the soccer tournament and it's really easy to do with one person at one time, really, really simple. No, but that would be being in the real world and dealing with real world consequences and real world businesses. But I just want to be a child.
They're going to force you to stay in sponsored hotels so that they can
force you to stay in the hotels that they've already pre-planned because there's thousands and thousands of people going to the same location and it makes it easier. Wow. Sorry for making it easier for you.
Get a kickback. Does that help develop the players? What?
Oh, what kickback? What, proof, please? Proof of your liable allegations to these companies? Proof?
What business model is this?
What business model is this? I just explained it to you. It's easier for the hotels and the coaches get their rooms for free. You're not happy because, well, you're a child, basically.
If I was a parent in that same situation, I would probably also say, yeah, we might as well get our money's worth while we're here and play a few games rather than just play one.
Why would you travel somewhere to play one football game? What?
It's not the right way to develop.
It is the right way to develop players with the tools and the talent you've got.
Players, the best way would be you spend a week training.
Right, so to get ready for your college showcase, to get your scholarship, we all need to spend the week training and not be put in a pressure environment. No, you get put in a pressure environment. This is the problem with these like millennial little babies. They don't want any mental pressure on there, and they want everything given to them for free and not have to try hard. No, you go out and you win and you lose and you fight. This is the difference. This guy was go to Africa or South America and find out how long your nonsense would last there. They'd laugh at you. Absolutely laugh at you. The mental fragility of these children. Ugh.
To prepare for the match on the weekend.
Why? Why? Because the people on the weekend, they can't play because they've got to travel because all the good teams are over here. We want to go play the good teams. No, we're not going to do that because it'll... I don't know. I'm a bad coach.
You play the match on the weekend at 100%. You give 100% because that's how you're going to play at the professional level.
They're not going to play professional football. How do you not understand this after working in the USU system for 4 years?
And a lot of times at these tournaments, they limit substitutions.
No, they don't. No, they don't. They put substitutions on your throw-in or your corner or your goal kick. They don't limit substitutions. Stop talking nonsense. By the way, that may happen when you, depending on... if they're going for like a platinum elite level tournament or they're doing some sort of something specific, but they don't.
Can't come back in the same half, or you.
Yeah, they can.
You have only moments to sub.
Yeah, I just told you those moments. Again, you're making excuses because you're a bad coach and you can't plan your system ahead of time.
Or you can't come back in that same game.
Yeah, you can. I've never heard of any nonsense. I'll tell you what, show me the youth tournament that's the thing in, because I've never heard of one. Ever.
It only makes more injuries happen for these kids.
Again, bad coach.
They're trying to copy the Premier League system where they only play once a week. It makes sense.
What do you mean the Premier League only plays once a week? What world are you on? Okay, like, you can't make up how stupid this human being is. Use the Googles.
Yeah, you can only sub a few times in a game if you're only going to play one game a week.
What do you... Right, so now you're telling me the Premier League teams play 1 day a week? Oh my God! Like, this is a human being out there talking about football like he knows something.
It's not going to lead to so many injuries, and in fact,
there's more injuries in the Premier League now more than ever. Woo!
When the Premier League players have to play 2 games in a week too many times.
What do you mean too many times? And first off, that isn't a new thing. They always used to. Like the fact, go to the Championship. Do you know anything about the Championship, or do you just watch the television and ESPN and see the Premier League and think, oh, this is how it is? Go watch the Championship. Go see how many games they play in a week. Clown.
They also complain about having to play.
No, they complain because they're professional footballers, and they all complain about bloody anything and everything. You give them anything and they'll complain.
Too many matches.
It's difficult, of course, because first of all, it's too many games.
So what do you think the 13-year-old who just played 200 and...
Do you know what? He's a kid. Because when I was a kid, I could play a game of football, 2 games of football every single day for every day of the year. Because I'm a kid and I'm full of energy. I'm made of rubber and plastic and I can do anything because I don't know that I can't. That's the truth. Like, I tell you now, from the moment the sun came up to the moment the sun went down, we'd be playing football. So trying to say that these kids can't play at 100 miles an hour, you're talking utter nonsense.
80 minutes in a weekend should be saying, yeah, they're getting exploited. They're not developing.
They're exploited. By who? What? They're having fun.
They're exploiting them. But parents, you're not off the hook for everything. I think it's the idea that since they're paying for their kid to be there, they have a say.
First off, if your parents ever came to talk to you, you're an absolutely clown of a coach. There's rules. This is the thing that people do in like bad coaches, and it happens all over the world. They blame the youth referees and they blame the parents. If you as a parent raised a voice or cheered when your damn kid scored a goal on my team, you wouldn't be allowed to come and watch your kid play football again. I'd give them this speech about how important their voice is, and their kid hears their voice and only focuses on that and doesn't focus the game. It's a long speech, it's boring, I'm not going to give it here. And if any of your parents ever talk to a referee, I'd kick them out of the football club. I'm their kid, and I'd have their kid do it. Have you ever marched a kid across? Well, you don't. What you do is you get your team captain and your little 13-year-old kid and you send him over to his dad to tell his dad to shut up. Two things happen. The kid has a massive smile on his face because he knows the coach is going to throw his dad out of the football stadium if he doesn't do what he's told. And so now the kid's like, I get to tell my dad off, and his mate goes with him, and they go over there, and all the parents on your team just like move out the way and leave that one dad there on his own to get told off by his kid. And yeah, you stop the bloody game. You stop the game to do that. You stop the ref. You pull the ref over. Ref, I've got a bad parent. Let me deal with it for a second. Hold on, ref. Wait there, ref. Don't worry, ref. I'll deal with it. And then you do it. The only time you have bad parents is because you've got bad coaches. The only time parents are allowed to shout at the referees in the youth game is because you've got bad football coaches. And they all blame the parents. No, it's the damn coaches of these football clubs that do not know how to control other people.
In how the game should go, who should play more minutes.
Yeah, it's never happening with a real football coach. No parent is ever coming to me and telling me that their kid needs to play more.
How the training session should go.
By the way, it's never happened, ever.
When and where.
Again, what? This just tells me you're in such a crap football club. Parents aren't even allowed near the training field. It's not allowed. It's not a thing. Like, how bad is your football club?
Training should be. It is a lot.
No, there's a car park and you drop them off there and you can see them walk down to the field and you can stand up there and watch. Like, what are you talking about?
And a lot of times these parents who are already putting pressure on coaches then start putting pressure on players.
Oh, they do they? Again, that's your fault as a bad coach. If you have not given the angry dad speech, the speech about, yeah, you don't know what you're doing as a youth football coach. That's the truth. Like, genuinely, you haven't got a bloody clue. This is one of the reasons they were doing small-sided games. I can remember sitting there with the... I'm one of those people I don't like to name drop, but he was the men's US national team coach at the time, just doing World Cup qualifiers, and we were talking about the small-sided games, and he goes, yeah, I'm sick and tired of it, because all these coaches are so bad, but if we only give them 6 players to mess up at 6v6, and we'll coach the rest, hopefully they don't destroy as many kids as they do.
During matches, I've had parents who are screaming at referees.
You've had parents screaming at referees because you're a bad football coach. Should have stopped the game, got little Billy, gone over to little Billy's dad, and if he doesn't want to, you kick little Billy and his dad out of your football team. Do you know who shouts and screams next week? No one. Does little Billy not get to play football? And sounds horrible, but it ain't your problem. Your problem is looking after everybody. And if one bad apple wants to ruin it for him, you kick him out. And guess what happens? Everybody knows you mean business, and they will not mess with you. But you don't have any balls because you're a child.
They'll be even screaming at the other team's coach.
Yeah. They would have been kicked out of the football club the moment that happened.
They'll be screaming at the other team's kids. Are you a...
Yeah, they would have been kicked out of the football club. This is the problem with little children doing things that they shouldn't be doing. You really need to have a nap, mate. You really do.
A psychopath. The energy changes because of how the parents act on the sideline.
Oh, shocker. That's why you don't let your parents talk. Oh, did I mention that a minute ago? Yeah.
And in my experience, 90% of parents are awesome, but all...
Oh, really? In your experience, you didn't control the 10%. By the way, if 10% was a problem on your team, oh my God, that's insane. As every team has one parent that's a pain in the arse, and that one parent makes everybody else a pain in the arse because they think it's an acceptable way to act and treat to other kids. You are so bad as a coach.
All it takes is a couple of them to absolutely change what's happening on the pitch. These kids who are young and susceptible...
Well, at least sorry, he did say something, another thing. These kids are young. Well done. You actually told another fact.
To the energy that is being screamed at them from the sidelines.
Because their coach is such a wimp and he hasn't dealt with it. Yeah, you are. Please tell me you never coach football again.
End up not even focusing on what we practice.
Because you haven't controlled the parents and now you're going to blame everybody else except for the one person that's to blame, and that is you.
Or how the game should be going. Instead, now they're going into challenges.
What? Because people are yelling, your kids are now undisciplined. Again, that's you being a poor coach. There's no way I've ever coached a team. By the way, even on, like, it doesn't matter what level and standard it's ever been. The only time that anything ever affects what happens on the field is what happens on the field. Is when other players start going in harder, we'll start going in harder. That's about it. I don't care what anyone says on the sidelines. It's irrelevant.
all rough and trying to hurt the other team because they're all riled up now because
God. If you can't control your parents and your team, that is your problem. Stop trying to say it's the US youth system about me being the bad coach and it's not fair.
because the parents couldn't control their emotions
No, because you couldn't control your parents. That's what it is.
on the sideline. More reasons why US youth soccer is terrible actually comes down to the clubs themselves.
Let's see how much crap this kid talks. It's going to be funny because he's done a coaching course and I guarantee you he thinks playing small-sided games is the right thing to do, which if you didn't know, it's absolutely, completely and utterly moronic, and it isn't. If you haven't seen that, go check out my video I've done before about it. It's one of the worst things in youth football is small-sided games. Remember, I didn't say small-sided training. Small-sided training is one thing. Small-sided games is the other. But don't worry, Clown Shoes is here to talk an utter load of nonsense about it.
Where they'll move from 7v7 to 9v9 really quickly.
Yeah, there's a reason for that.
To 9v9 to 11v11 really.
Yeah, because there's more space. The more space you have on the field, the more time you have. The more time you have on the ball, the more you can make a decision. The less space you have, the less time you have. If you're all bunched up on a 6v6 field here, hold on, let me just pause this and bring up some of my mind map. We'll get back to his total nonsense in a second, but this is the field size, the field players, basically breaking it down to how much square foot you have per player. So as you can see, on a field, which is 6v6, you have no square foot on a field compared to what you have when you're playing 11v11. So when you're younger and you can't make a decision, and if you don't understand about that, well, I've got all space equals time, passing progressions, the difference of speed of thought when the ball's out of play, which it is more. There's loads of stuff here, loads of stuff. But the one thing that you do, okay, is you have more 6v6 fields on a field so you can make more money. The longer you keep them at 6v6, the more money you can make. The quicker you transition them, the better it is for their player development. There's many other things. Yeah. But he doesn't even understand that. But let's just check this out.
Really quickly. I think that it's going to be a lot better for these players to develop.
I think based on no evidence, no facts, no understanding, and never doing anything in football except for complaining about the parents that I can't control, losing my best players, and never winning a tournament because I don't understand why I should be going to it in the first place.
Getting touches on the ball.
Okay, so that's called training? Yeah, that's training. It's not game time. So because you're dumb, I'll explain it to you slowly. You've got training and you've got games. The game that you talk about where everyone wants to play professionally is 11v11. If you want to play that, that's what you should be playing. 6v6 is a different game. It's like playing indoor. It's different.
Rather than using their physical attributes.
What? Their physical attributes? Oh my God, he's a weak player, isn't he? He couldn't play football because he's a weak little boy. That's what it is. The Premier League's all about being strong, fast and powerful. You can't make it there if you're not strong, fast and powerful. Doesn't matter how good you are on with your foot skills.
It's like pace and strength.
Pace and strength? You mean the only things that matter in the highest levels? How big and strong and fast you are? Like, you can't make up how dumb this kid is.
It's a lot better for them to be playing in these small-sided scenarios.
Whoa, it's better for you because you're bad at football and you couldn't outrun all the other kids, and now if you play in a little 6v6 game, you might be able to. Is that what you're telling me?
Scenarios a little bit longer rather than going to 11v11 really quickly. But why do they do this? Well, if you've got, let's say, 36...
So now I'm about to show you why, again, he's absolutely full of rubbish. You make more money with 6v6 games because you can have 4 fields on one, okay? He doesn't know that because he hasn't really worked in a football club properly.
Kids in a club, it's going to be a lot easier for you to make.
Okay, so let's look at his breakdown. We'll let him talk through his breakdown. But what he doesn't understand is it's much easier to have 2 teams at 9v9 because what you're doing is you're playing 2 games at 9v9 on the 11v11 field, and that's only being used for an hour. So then you can get the next people in. The more fields you can get in per slot on the weekend, the easier it is for you. So you don't want 11v11 games. You want small-sided games. You want the 6v6 and the 9v9s. So you can have all the people in and out, gone straight away.
2 teams of 18.
By the way, you can tell he's never coached at a high level. in the youth level, right? You're not having more than 14 players. Okay, it does change when you're as soon as you get to under 17s, everything changes because you want 22 players on your team, completely different, right? That's why I say the United States youth system is great under the age of under 16s. You are not having 18 players on your under 13s team. You're just not doing it. Like, what are you talking about? No one's getting playing time if you're doing that. You're having 14 tops. Again, showing how much of a terrible football coach this guy is.
Players. That way you pay less coaches than 3 teams, and you have less tournament fees that you have to pay for.
Why would you have less tournament fees? What? You're still going to the same amount of tournaments if you're on a team. It doesn't make any difference.
Or rather than having 3 9v9 teams of 12 players each. If you have 3 9v9 teams of 12 players each, then you have another tournament fee, another league.
So? Another league fee. See, you can tell he's playing in a podunk state and he doesn't understand what's going on. There's 1 registration fee for your players. If you're paying 3 registration fees, your club is stealing money.
Fee, another coach you have to pay.
Why'd you have to pay another coach? 1 coach should be coaching both of those teams. Why do you have 3 coaches? 1 coach. What are you talking about?
So why not bump them to 11v11 and say that's better for the kids? It's really not.
Yes, it is, because you can find out if they can kick a 65-yard ball or not, or if they can't, or if they can run up and down the wing or not, or if they can't, or if they can understand the spacing. And I had players that were so bad, but I wouldn't cut them. And then when they ended up leaving, they had played 11v11 all the way through, and they were miles better than everyone else. They weren't as fast, they weren't, because they could understand the bloody game, because they didn't spend 3 of their years learning small-sided games. They had no relevance and no bearing. And if you don't believe me now, go and look at how many centre-backs there are in the Premier League. Good ones? Well, no, because they don't teach it. Because when you're exposed on an 11v11 field, you have to deal with long balls and balls in behind. You don't have to deal with that on a 6v6 field and a 9v9 field. You play in these little shapes, bump, 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 and you can't knock a ball over someone and run in behind them. So it doesn't happen anymore. It's not because they can't do it or the system is better. It's because they're not coached to anymore. It's destroying football. Absolutely destroying football.
They should be staying at small-sided and even prioritizing like futsal.
Futsal's a different game, you clown. Oh my God. I know professional futsal players that were playing like back in the day when Pele was playing, and these guys can't play 11v11. They can't. You put them on a field and they're locked. Get the ball at their feet, they're brilliant. They can't make dynamic runs. They don't understand anything to do with an 11v11 at all ever.
In the winters a lot more than they actually do, because this is what's going to actually technically develop.
No, it's not. No. I'll tell you what's going to technically develop them is going out and playing with their mates. But because you're in a system that doesn't encourage that or let people go out and play football and do that, not everything has to be put in a structure in a league with private lessons. Because if you're doing that, these people aren't going to make it anyway. You don't understand that.
Them rather than throwing them into 11v11 as soon as possible.
No, throw them into 11v11 as soon as possible.
Here's the one truth about U.S. youth soccer. It's not about development.
The one truth about all football is it's not about development. What are you talking about? They don't put development first. Do you know what's important? Winning. Did you not know that? In your clown shoes college or wherever you went, did no one tell you it's about winning?
It's about money.
No, it's about winning. Because you can't actually take any money from any parents unless your football team is winning. They won't believe you. Pay me your money. Yeah, but your team keeps losing. Yeah, but pay me money. No, it's about one thing and one thing only, winning. And you're not a winner because you don't understand it. It's only about winning. You cannot develop a player if he leaves your team. So you have to win. You don't understand any of this. The major thing, you can find a good coach or a bad coach. You'll ask him, what's the number 1 rule of player development? Small-sided games? No, it's about keeping the player. If you can't keep the player, you can't develop the player. Whatever the system is. So you have to win. You have to do the best thing that you can do and keep your team going forward so you can win and develop and move forward and go forward. Otherwise, they just leave.
It's pay to play. It's ego.
It's not pay to play. You might have to pay to play on the team, but it is not pay to play because if you don't win, first off, you can't go to the tournament. You won't be allowed into the top bracket. You might be in the rubbish C bracket where you played, but you won't get put in the top bracket unless your team's a good team. You're not making it to a proper showcase and being put in the top division unless you're a good team, which clearly you weren't.
Over education, it's marketing over meaning. It doesn't need to be this way. We see how it is in Europe.
What? See how it is in Europe? Like with no factual evidence-based run on anything. I'm telling you, it's not like that in Europe. Do you know what it's about? Winning! Oh no. Oh, and here's the other thing. With all the English players, where do they go? They go over to Borussia Dortmund. They don't go through England because they don't get played. Because they want to win football games.
And I would love to see my country win a World Cup.
Then change your pro system. It's got nothing to do with the youth system, you utter clown. The only way that your club or your country, by the way, they could, if I was running it, I'd put one rule in, and within 5 years, there'd be a world dominant force in America. One rule change, just one rule change, and they would be. But until that system's changed, it's just your pro system that's the problem, not the youth system.
Before I die. But if this is the system that continues to...
It's not the youth system that's stopping the professional players winning the World Cup. How dumb is this human being? The under 16-year-olds that don't play in the World Cup don't develop properly. Yeah, but what about the professional players? Where are they developing? Well, they're not, because our league's rubbish. Oh, right. So between 24 and 26, when they're out of the youth system and they're supposed to be coming into their prime, where are they playing? Well, they're playing in our bad league that doesn't have promotion and relegation. Yeah, oh, brilliant.
Be the status quo. I don't see it ever happening. Hopefully this insight into the U.S.
This utter nonsense that I've prattled on with no real explanations, understandings, or told anybody what's really going on, because my bruised ego from being a bad football coach, losing a bunch, losing my kids, not getting put into the tournaments that I wanted to get into, and trying to talk to my parents about player development. Let me tell you one simple rule about coaching in America. Any single coach who's talking about player development is a loser. You've got to keep your kids to develop them. You're winning games, your players and your kids stay with you. You lose games and your parents start questioning you. And that's when they'll start ripping you apart. You can't have them question you. And the only way you can do that is by winning football games.
Youth soccer system has educated those of you from other countries into how bad it actually
Other countries? I guarantee you theirs is worse. Some of the youth facilities in America are amazing. Absolutely amazing. Oh, you've never played on a cow field, mate. Ever.
is over here. And to those of you actively participating in this system, if this video has convinced you that things need to change, do not forget to drop a like in
Yeah, liking his video will help change youth soccer, guys. Yeah. Sorry, but I could go on. I mean, this is the problem with stupid people. They put out stuff and all of a sudden everyone starts jumping on the bandwagon, and it's completely and utterly fraudulent what he's saying. It's the US main system that's broken, not the youth system. The youth system is geared up to get people to college scholarships, and that's what it does. Other than that, it's been a long one, and I'll see you next time on Cash Talks Football.